March 31st, 1943. The morning sun cut through haze over central Burma. A B-24 Liberator heavy bomber of the 7th Bomb Group was deep in enemy territory. The formation had crossed 400 miles of hostile airspace. Anti-aircraft fire had been moderate. Flak had damaged 2 aircraft. Now the target was in sight. The bombardier was ready. The formation wheeled into the bombing run. The 7th Bomb Group had been operating in the China-Burma-India Theater for 18 months. They had learned the hard way what combat meant. No fighter escort was available at this range. The bombers were alone. They had only each other and their machine gunners. 10,000 feet altitude, 80 miles per hour. No maneuverability, no escape, only accuracy. The first wave of fighters attacked from above. Japanese interceptors dove through broken cloud. They came too fast to count. The B-24s were heavy, slow, vulnerable on the approach. Formation flying was everything. A formation could defend itself. Separated bombers died. The formation could not break formation. The bombardier was locked on. The pilot held altitude. Seconds mattered. Tons of ordnance hung in the bomb bay. Release them or die empty-handed. The first bomber exploded midair. A direct hit from cannon fire. The right wing folded backward like paper. The tail separated and tumbled through the formation. Bodies fell with it. No parachutes opened. 7 men died in 3 seconds. Their aircraft was suddenly wreckage and fire falling through the sky. The formation held. The formation stayed locked. The bombardier called out corrections. 2 minutes to target. 1 minute. Bombs away. The formation lightened. The aircraft lifted slightly. The formation turned away from the target. The flak followed. The smoke cleared behind them. Now the fighters came again. Owen J. Baggett was the tail gunner on his aircraft. He sat in the most exposed position on the bomber. The tail turret was a sphere of clear glass and aluminum. Baggett could see 360 degrees behind the aircraft. He could see everything approaching. He could see nothing approaching faster than what was already trying to kill him. Baggett was 22 years old. He was from Oklahoma. He had volunteered for aircrew when he was 19. He had been flying combat missions for 14 months. He had seen things that most men never see. He had seen aircraft explode. He had seen men die. He had learned to kill or be killed. He had learned to remain calm when explosions surrounded the fuselage. He had learned to trust his training and his gunners in the positions beside him. The tail position was the loneliest position on the bomber. The tail gunner was separated from the rest of the crew by the entire length of the fuselage. He could not easily evacuate. He could not see the pilots. He could see only what came from behind. For 14 months, Owen Baggett had sat in that position watching hostile sky, waiting for the moment when fighters would appear. Japanese fighters made a coordinated pass from astern. 3 Zeros came in line astern, using superior climb rate and maneuverability to position themselves above and behind the formation. Machine gun fire raked the fuselage. The sounds were metallic screams. Rounds punched through the aluminum like fists. They shredded the waist section. They killed the radio operator instantly. They severed a fuel line. They set the left wing afire. Baggett fired back. His twin .50 caliber machine guns responded with control bursts. The Zeros twisted away. One showed damage. Black smoke trailed from its engine. But there were more. The fighters were coordinating. One attacked. Baggett fired. It broke off. Another attack from a different angle. The bomber was being hunted by professionals. The pilot tried to feather the engines. They were too damaged. Fuel leaked from ruptures. Fire spread across the wing surface. The structural integrity was failing. The wing was burning itself apart. The wing surface crinkled and blackened. The metal was losing strength. The pilot knew they had seconds. He sent the signal. Bailout. Everyone abandon. Baggett heard the command through his headset. He was still in the tail. He had to climb forward through the fuselage to reach the bomb bay emergency exit. The plane was pitching upward and to the left. Fire was spreading. He moved forward. He climbed over the dead radio operator. Blood was still flowing. The aircraft was losing altitude rapidly. The engines were screaming at different RPMs. Left engine was at 60%. Right engine was at 40. They were descending. The jungle was rising. He reached the exit hatch. The waist gunners had already gone. He saw empty space where they had been. He went through. The slipstream grabbed him violently. He was tumbling. The air rushed past at 120 miles per hour. His body was spinning. He pulled the ripcord. The parachute deployed. The shock jerked his harness. His body stopped suddenly. He was suspended in silence. The aircraft below him continued falling. It was burning completely now. The left wing was separating. The fuselage was black with fire. It hit the jungle nose first and exploded. A column of smoke rose through the canopy. Fire consumed the wreckage. The remains scattered across a 200-yard radius. The aircraft was gone. The crew was dispersed in parachutes above the jungle. Below, the jungle waited. Endless canopy, dark green, impenetrable. The airbase was 20 miles away. The parachute drift was slow. 7,000 feet altitude. 30 seconds of descent to 10,000 feet of jungle. 5 minutes of slow descent. There was time. There was too much time. Then he heard the engine noise return. Multiple engines. Zeros returning to the scene. They had radioed the position to other fighters. They were returning to finish the job. A Zero came through the smoke below his aircraft. It was hunting. It had seen parachutes opening. The pilot had radioed the location to other fighters in the area. They were converging on the descent zone. The suspended airmen were targets. They could not maneuver. They could not fight. They could only drift and die. Baggett saw 2 more Zeros below him. One was climbing toward his position. The cockpit canopy was visible. The pilot was searching the sky. He was looking for stragglers, for easy kills, for men hanging helpless in harnesses. Parachute strafing was common. Japanese pilots had perfected it. A man descending under a white canopy could not dodge. He could not take cover. He could only wait for the bullets to find him. Baggett made a decision. He was a tail gunner. He was trained to fight. He was trained to survive. He had seen gunners torn to pieces by cannon fire. He had seen aircraft explode around him. He had learned that surrender was a luxury enemy pilots sometimes decided to grant. He had also learned that it was not always granted. He feigned death. He went completely limp in his harness. He let his body go slack. He let his head fall forward. He let his arms hang. He looked exactly like a dead man suspended in a parachute. The Zero circled. The pilot was suspicious or curious. The Japanese pilot began to climb toward Baggett for a closer inspection. Baggett's hand moved slowly. His service pistol was in his harness. The M1911 Colt .45 caliber. 7 rounds in the magazine. 1 in the chamber. 8 shots total. The range would be 200 feet, then 150, then closer still. The fighter descended toward him like a predator drawn to something it believed was already dead. The cockpit canopy grew larger. Baggett could see the pilot's face now through the clear greenhouse canopy. The pilot was young, perhaps 20 years old. He was focused intently on the dead man hanging below. The pilot did not see Baggett's eyes open. The pilot did not see the pistol rise. The Japanese pilot was focused on the kill. That focus was his last error of judgment. Baggett fired. For rapid rounds. Point blank. The M1911 reports echoed through empty sky. The sound was sharp. The bullets traveled 800 feet per second. The rounds punched through the cockpit canopy. The glass shattered. Fragments exploded inward into the cockpit. At least 2 rounds found the pilot. Blood sprayed inside the cockpit immediately. The pilot's hands jerked on the controls. His body convulsed. The control inputs went haywire. The fighter's nose pitched up suddenly. The wings lost lift. The aircraft stalled. For one moment, it hung in the air, motionless. Then it rolled. It twisted nose first toward the jungle. It fell. It twisted and rotated as it fell. It did not recover. It did not regain control. It hit the dense jungle canopy at a steep angle and disappeared into green. Baggett's parachute drifted on. His heart was exploding in his chest. He had just done something that should not have been possible. He had killed an aircraft with a pistol. He had fired 4 rounds from a parachute at a fighter aircraft. The reports were still echoing in his ears. The smell of powder was still in his nostrils. He had acted when action seemed impossible. The 2 remaining Zeros appeared confused. They saw their companion fall. They did not understand what had happened. They circled the area where Baggett's parachute was descending. They seemed to lose interest. Perhaps they assumed the first Zero had crashed from mechanical failure. Perhaps they did not realize what had occurred. They turned away and flew back toward the airbase. The descent continued. Baggett watched the jungle grow larger. He could see individual trees now. The canopy was enormous. The descent was slowing as he neared the ground. He could see a small clearing ahead. He tried to steer the parachute toward it. The wind was pushing him toward the trees. He landed hard in the jungle. He crashed through upper canopy branches. The parachute caught in the trees above him. He swung in the harness. His injuries from the bailout worsened on impact. His left arm was broken. His left leg was badly bruised. He was wounded from flak before he even bailed out. He was alive. He was hurt. He was alone. He was hunted. He cut himself free from the parachute. He got down from the tree. He was in dense jungle. The visibility was 50 feet. The sound were strange. Insects, birds, the constant noise of the rainforest. He could hear voices in the distance. Japanese voices. Japanese ground patrols were searching for the downed bomber crew. They were systematic. They would find the wreckage. They would follow the parachute landing points. Japanese ground patrols found him within an hour. They were searching the area where the wreckage had been scattered. They found the second parachute still caught in the trees. The user of that parachute had not survived the landing. They found Baggett standing in a clearing trying to determine which direction to walk. He was wounded. He was exhausted. He could not run. They took him prisoner. He was wounded. They didn't give him medical attention. They bound his hands. They marched him toward a camp. The march took 2 days. He was given no water. He was given no food. He was interrogated twice. The interrogators demanded information. Baggett refused. He was kept in a bamboo cage at night. He was marched during the day. He was transferred to a larger camp, then another. Over the next 3 years, Owen Baggett moved through the Japanese prisoner of war system in Burma and Thailand. He endured starvation, red rice, sometimes maggots in the rice, thin soup with occasional vegetables. He endured beatings. Guards would beat prisoners without cause. Men died from infection of minor wounds. Men died from disease. Men died from starvation. Baggett survived. He did not get the major diseases. He did not get the infected wounds that killed others. He endured. He remained mentally intact while others lost their minds. He did not give up. He had made one impossible choice in a parachute over Burma. He made the same choice every day in the camps. He chose to survive. In 1945, American forces reached the camps. Japanese guards disappeared. Allied soldiers liberated the prisoners. Baggett was skeletal. His weight had dropped from 180 pounds to 95 pounds. His skin was gray. His hair was long and matted. His eyes were hollow. But he was alive. He was liberated. The war was ending. He returned to the United States. He returned to Oklahoma. He was hospitalized. He recovered slowly. His strength returned gradually. He told the story of his bailout. He explained the mission. He described the attack. He detailed the bailout. He recounted the fighter inspection. He explained his decision to act. He described the 4 shots. He reported the fighter falling. American military records documented his account. The 7th Bomb Group confirmed the combat action. Crew members who saw the fighter fall corroborated his testimony. Officers interviewed him extensively. The incident became known as the impossible shot. Military magazines wrote about it. Newspapers picked up the story. Veterans spoke about it. It entered the historical record. But there was a problem. Japanese operational records, those that survived the war and were captured during American occupation, did not show a clear match. A 0 or key. 43 lost at that exact place, that exact time, that exact manner. Records were incomplete. Thousands of Japanese aircraft were lost without documentation. Many pilots were not recorded when they were lost in combat. Many losses went unconfirmed. Many records were destroyed in 1945 as Japanese military facilities burned. Japanese military historians, after the war, made efforts to compile comprehensive aircraft loss records. They worked with captured documents. They interviewed surviving pilots and commanders. They cross-referenced unit records. But the records were fragmented. Entire unit histories had been destroyed. Pilot names were sometimes missing. Dates were sometimes unclear. The gap remained. Japanese history and American history did not align on this single point. Historians who compared the records found the discrepancy. They were not calling Owen Baggett a liar. They were noting that the enemy documentation did not independently corroborate the claim. The aircraft might have crashed miles away in terrain so remote it was never discovered. The pilot might have been so damaged he managed to return to base and crash land. only to be listed as missing rather than lost in combat. The records might simply be missing or destroyed. The pilot might have been so experienced that despite his wounds, he managed a dead-stick landing in an alternate location. But the honest truth is this. American sources confirm Owen Baggett's testimony extensively. Multiple crew members corroborated witnessing the fighter fall. Japanese sources do not confirm the loss. The physics of the shot are theoretically possible. Expert marksmen can hit targets at 200 feet. At close range, an M1911 can penetrate aircraft aluminum and canopy glass. A pilot shot in the cockpit will lose control. A damaged fighter with a wounded pilot can crash. So the action is not physically impossible. But it is rare. It is exceptional. It is the kind of thing men discuss in officers' clubs and veterans' gatherings, shaking their heads, knowing it should not have happened, but grateful it did. The story remains unresolved. It is one of history's tantalizing gaps. One man's testimony against incomplete records. One moment that shaped a squadron's memory, but resisted full historical verification. The question endures. Did Owen Baggett shoot down a Japanese fighter with his service pistol while suspended in a parachute? American veterans who served with him would answer yes without hesitation. Japanese records do not confirm it. Historians say the truth lies somewhere in that space between testimony and documentation. What is certain? Owen Baggett jumped. He was hunted. He acted. He fired. He reported seeing the fighter fall. He was captured. He survived 3 years in Japanese POW camps. He returned home. He told the story for the rest of his life. The 7th Bomb Group recorded it in official history. The story shaped how an entire squadron understood the meaning of survival and refusal to quit. Whether or not the fighter fell exactly as he described, Owen Baggett proved one truth that day. A man in the worst position imaginable, suspended helpless in the sky, hunted by an enemy who held all advantages, can choose to fight. He can choose to act. He can choose to refuse surrender, even when surrender seems the only rational choice. He can draw a pistol when a pistol seems useless. He can fire 4 rounds into the cockpit of an aircraft coming to kill him. He can choose defiance. That choice, that moment, that decision to reach for a pistol when a man was already lost. That is what the story means. Whether the Japanese pilot fell or not, Owen Baggett's spirit did not fall. His will did not break. His hands did not remain empty. And that is the part of the story that needs no verification. That is the part that is absolutely true. In the moment when everything told him to surrender, he chose to fight. He chose to survive. He succeeded.